I'm here with my good friend Jeromy Price, and Jeromy is with Hawk and Bear, who does websites, branding, graphic design stuff. And Jeromy and I started, I guess, kind of going back and forth online after an Instagram post when I announced the Arkansas Outdoor Expo. And Jeromy, I think maybe, I don't know, within 24 hours, sent me a message and he's like, hey, I'm in, let's talk. So we talked and I kind of told him the vision that I had for it. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna send you a questionnaire. So he sent me a questionnaire. Literally like maybe 2 days later, he sent me back this email with this PDF. And so I opened up this PDF and it was really a roadmap in his head, how he approaches websites and branding and graphic design. I had never seen anything quite like this. And I was absolutely blown away, and I still talk about it to people this day. It was very intricate. He not only wanted to understand my ideas, but he wanted to understand things that I had never thought about. Like what's the flow of the website, what's the colors, what's the aesthetic. And I'm still blown away by the website. Even to this day, it is one of the best websites I've ever seen. But I wanted to start this podcast series with Jeromy of Hawk and Bear because he's the man behind the scenes with the website. When you go to our website, you're seeing his handiwork. You're seeing his talent, and I can't praise him enough for that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you for, hanging with me on this journey.
Oh, absolutely.
So, let me ask you this. We're going to start this. So,
okay.
What drew you to graphic and web design?
Well, I was always artistic as a kid. From a really young age, like coloring books, drawing, and it was something I did all throughout high school, and it's kind of a funny story that I got into graphic design kind of backwards, really. So when I was in high school, my our guidance counselor who helps us with college enrollment and stuff, she wasn't really helpful. So when I'm applying for college, I had no idea what major I wanted to go in. I didn't even know graphic design was a thing. And so I ended up enrolling in West Ark. I'm showing my age because it's now.
I was there too, yeah.
And I was there for about a year and then transferred to NSU in Tahlequah for a semester. Where I majored in, I believe it was commercial art or commercial illustration, because I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. It's not what I wanted to do. Transferred back to West Ark and ended up dropping out of college because I had no idea. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I figured I'm going to drop out, I'm going to get a job and just work for a while. And then I got a job at a sign company and met their graphic designers, and they just clicked. Right. I'm like, that's it. That's what I've been looking for, and that's what I want to do. And so I was able to talk these guys into letting me use their computers. Like when they go on their lunch break and stuff, I'd get in there and start teaching myself the software and everything. And that's how I ended up getting into the graphic design as a career. Interesting. Yeah.
So self-taught from there, or did you go back and do more?
I attempted, so I worked there for about a year, and then, just kind of snowballing all that learning into newer positions. Like there was a print shop locally that I went to work for a while, and then another print shop, and then I managed to work my way into the internal marketing department at Pradco. And so I was there for 3 years, I believe. And by that time I had built up my portfolio. I was doing great with my career, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to school and make this formal, get my degree. And so I did. I enrolled for a while, and I was going for my bachelor's, and I was probably in school for about a year before it got to the point where I realized it was kind of pointless, because I'm learning things that I've already knew, and I wasn't gaining any new, knowledge. And everything that I was doing in my career, I was learning faster in my career than I was in school. And so I ended up just dropping out of that because my career was starting to take off. And then I ended up going to an ad agency after that, and it just really took off from there.
Gotcha. So, print shop, Pradco, ad agency. At what point did you say, okay, I got to take the jump? I got to go all in on Hawk and Bear.
I knew early on. Actually, at Pradco, I knew that I wanted to eventually be on my own. Running my own business, whether that was going to be like a full ad agency or just a solo gig. But it was the last job I had at an agency. Things started to, I guess, get out of hand. That I didn't like the way the business was running. I didn't like the way client relations were going. I thought people were getting taken advantage of, and there was some, a little bit of toxicity in the work environment. And I decided, okay, it's time. I've got enough experience under my belt that I can do this. Gotcha. And so I went for it.
Took the jump.
I took the jump.
Good deal. So with most entrepreneurial ventures, we learn mistakes early, and that's what everything I was taught is. If you're going to make mistakes, make them early, rebound, and move on. Mm-hmm. So what were some of the mistakes that you encountered that made you who you are today, in the graphic and web design?
Well, the first thing I realized when I went out on my own is that I was really, really good at the design part of the business.
Right.
But like client relations and sales,
right.
I was terrible.
Right.
I had no experience there. And so I was really relying heavily on the network of people that I could, just call on and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Do you have anybody you can recommend? And it just kind of grew from there. So that was my first mistake, is not being fully mentally prepared.
Right.
And I would say the second mistake is being fresh and scared out of my mind. I wasn't, I overcommitted a lot because, I wanted to make sure I had that steady stream of income. Right. And so I was working day and night, 7 days a week, hardly any sleep, just work. That's all I did. That was my life for, I'd say, the first couple of years until I finally found my rhythm.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so.
I was always told that if you want to be good at something, you got to give something up. Mm-hmm. And I myself, I understand. Going through college, I chose to give up sleep, and it worked, but at what price? So, with all that being said, those fundamentals, even the mistakes, has that attributed to you staying in business for yourself for so long, or have you learned something else that has helped you along the way?
I would say those early mistakes, they definitely helped. They helped me grow and figure out what I needed to work on. But I would say the one thing, and this is one thing I tell my kids all the time, it's like the most important skill, no matter what kind of education you get, no matter what kind of work experience you get, the most important skill you could ever develop is your willingness and ability to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Just keeping that open mind and say, Absolutely. It doesn't matter how bad it's getting, I'm going to figure it out, right. And I'm going to grow from this. And that's what I did. So anytime that I hit a roadblock, it's like, okay, I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
And
the tenacity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really got me through a lot.
That's awesome. So we've talked over the years, golly, we talked. October 2024. So a little bit about my story, but so when you first started, industries change. Mm-hmm. So from when you entered this market to now, how has that industry changed of the graphic and web design?
It's crazy. When I first started out, I was just a print designer.
Right.
brochures, business cards, logos. But outside of that, I didn't do any web work. Social media didn't exist at the time because that's how old I am. But yeah, it was just print work. And then when I got to Pradco, I was in the fishing department. I think we managed like 13 brands. And each brand needed their own website. And so me and the other designer at the time, we were tasked with figuring out how to build a website. We had no idea because we were just print designers. And so we both just dove in and started learning HTML and CSS. And we built hard-coded websites for each brand. And then that's where my knowledge for web design really started to pick up. And I didn't get into it that much until I went out on my own. And then the clients that were coming in, every single one was asking, well, we need a website too. We need a website. And it's like, well, I need to figure this out. I need to grow. I can't just be the print guy and then hand it off because I'm missing out on an opportunity. Right. So I would say during my career, the designers have, went from being like separate designers, like web, print, logo designers are all being compressed into like a single person now. Because by the time I started my own business, designers were expected to be, art directors, copywriters, production managers, web designers, like know everything, every aspect of it. And so it's grown a lot. And now, AI has entered the ring.
Game changer.
It is a game changer. Yeah. And, I've always been of the mindset of, sink or swim. Right. So if I don't want to become a dinosaur, I need to,
evolve.
Yeah, I need to evolve. And so that's going to be the next hurdle to get over.
Now, one of the things I had problems with, so I worked, it seemed like forever ago, but almost 15 years in corporate America. Mm-hmm. And then when I stepped out, made that jump, it was like the first recession hit. And then there's like, this happened. And I kind of didn't know what to do. I mean, you work for corporate America, you're guaranteed that check. You just got to show up. So in an entrepreneur mindset, what have you learned over the years that kind of deter yourself from, slow seasons or, recessions, economic downturns?
Saving money. Yes. Make that savings account your best friend.
Yeah.
That was a lesson I learned early on, because when I was focused just on print design, that happened a lot.
Sure.
That happened a whole lot because certain print projects they get pretty expensive. Somebody wants to do a full color brochure that's like 12 pages. That gets expensive. Not just the design, but you get into the print, and so people started moving away from that to websites, because websites you can update, daily, weekly basis, and brochure you can't do that.
No, it's done.
Yeah, and so there's learning to adapt, increasing what I'm able to offer people, but there have been definitely been some scary times with the with recessions and COVID especially.
Yeah, I forgot about COVID.
Yeah.
It makes us grow though, right?
It does, but I want to say there was a period of about 3 months where I was all but ready to go out of business. Right. Like my retainer client at the time, they had to kill that contract because they couldn't keep me on anymore. So I lost that contract and other website projects that I was working on. One of the things I do is some white label services for other agencies because they need somebody to step in and fill that role. And I was working with one in Northwest Arkansas, and they had to put a pause on that because all their projects were slowing down. And so it got really tight there for a while. And I want to say it was about May of that year, I got a phone call from an agency who said, we're just flooded with web work right now and we got nobody to take care of it. Can you step in? I'm like, yes.
Absolutely.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I don't even need to see a contract. I just sign me up right now.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I earlier on in my career, there really wasn't YouTube. So, people that this reaches, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, the endless, words. So let's take, for example, when I come to you and you come to me and we start talking about the website, the flow, the direction. If you were to give someone watching that's on they're like, okay, man, I've got to reach out to Jeromy, but I don't know what my website needs to be. I don't know what it needs to look like. If, in your opinion, what makes good design actually work from a website or graphic element?
Mm-hmm. Well, being a designer first, I would say that it needs to look good, which sounds obvious, but think about like when you're in the store and you're shopping, and you're looking for, body wash or something, and you've got this really generic looking bottle and you have the nicer looking stuff. Most people will reach for the nicer bottle first because it catches their eye.
Right.
A website will do the same thing. If somebody gets on your website and like immediately they think, well, this is kind of low key, low scale website, they probably don't offer what I want. They're going to jump to the next one. So it needs to be visually engaging. It needs to be easy to navigate. If people have to go like 5, 6, 7 clicks in to find the information they're looking for, they're going to leave your site
quickly. Yeah,
they need to be able to access that information, really quick. And then it needs to be obviously functional. You'd be surprised how many websites out there have, images with broken links or buttons that don't go anywhere, or the information they're looking for isn't there anymore. They'll pull up what's called a 404 page.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
And so it needs to be functional. It needs to have the relevant information and easy to use.
So with that, how do you balance the creativity, the initial design to the actual business strategy?
Well, that took a lot of trial and error to figure out what works best, and that kind of goes back to the whole self-education thing. I dove into as much web knowledge as I could, and so what I realized is that just the website just looking pretty isn't going to solve your problem.
Right.
So I had to, and that was the designer in me diving into that part of it first, the art of it. And I had to take a step back and it's like, well, it's function first and then the form, it needs to work before it looks pretty. So I had to kind of reverse my strategy early on in my career or as an entrepreneur on how the website should work. So, first, you need to, once you figure out what the website's purpose is, like what problem are you trying to solve, make sure it solves that problem first, and then you go in and make it look pretty, make it look engaging, draw people's, attention with colors and fonts and animations or whatever needs to go on there. But that information needs to be there first, that functionality.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent point. So what separates an amateur website from a professional? Because I'm more on the amateur side of website building where you're the absolute professional. So,
thank you.
But with that being said, when someone goes to a website, it's a trust issue right off the bat. So if they're engaging in a website, what are some elements that separate the amateur from a professional based on trust or brand recognition or however you want to slice it?
Well, I think it goes back to that functionality. If they get on a website and 9 times out of 10 when somebody gets on your website, it's because they're looking for something specific.
Sure.
And when they find that information, like really quickly, they realize, hey, this guy gets me, or this website, knows what I'm looking for. It's right there. And so I would say that is the key element is speaking to your audience quickly, and making sure that they have the information and access to that information without having to really dive too deep for it.
And that's one of the things we did on the Arkansas Outdoor Expo website is that, when you sent me that checklist or the diagram or the process, I guess, when it went from that stage to the final stage, we had 0 people asking. Like they found what they needed to see or to process, and then follow the forms or the links or whatever. Absolutely excellently done.
Thank you.
So moving from like the site-based aspect of it, what makes a good client?
Well, one that pays.
Obviously.
Clearly, yeah.
Right.
But one that I would say, for me personally, this is kind of where the personal aspect and the professional aspect overlap. Is for me, what makes a good client is one that I connect with.
Right.
Because when I go into it, I mean, this is a business that I'm running, but it's also me.
Right.
I'm not just selling my services, I'm selling my time, I'm selling my attention. And so it needs to be somebody that I connect with. Because when that happens, I mean, just the communication is seamless. The process of getting the project completed, it just goes so smoothly. So that's one of the things I look for, because I've taken on several projects in the past strictly because they needed something. I was able to provide it, but there was a disconnect.
Right.
And there have been a couple times where they were not a good fit.
Right.
And so I either just canceled the project or just didn't take it on at all. But
right.
Yeah, when I connect with who they are and what they're doing, and then that's like the ideal client.
So now you know the red flags to look at, or if they're present, kind of now may or may not be a good fit. Interesting. So I've been a fan of your work since day one.
Thank you.
You know that I've praised you every step of the way. But so how do you handle like difficult or negative feedback from a client? Or
I've been doing this so long, I've gotten pretty thick skin, because I'll tell you what, early in my career, I've had some feedback and some comments that really stung.
Right.
And man, I did not take it well. But over the years, I've realized that just try to anytime somebody gives me any kind of feedback, whether it's negative or not, I just gotta have to sift through it, find out what they're really trying to tell me, and then take that and run with it.
Gotcha.
Figure out what it is that they're really needing, really wanting, and most of the time it works out.
Because sometimes they don't know what they want, right? I mean, they have a visual interpretation of kind of the end product, but they just don't know how to get there.
Right. Yeah.
Case in point, like I told you, hey, I want this website to. This is what it's going to need. This is kind of like my idea. I mean, you took the logo that I had, which was rough. I mean, very rough, and you turned it into an absolute masterpiece.
Thank you.
And
I love that logo.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments on that logo day in and day out. And we have people all the time like, hey, when are hats going to be available? When are t-shirts going to be available? I'm like, it's coming. It's just it's a part of the process. So with businesses, brands, services, or entrepreneurs, what are some of the mistakes that you've seen over the years that when they come to you and like, okay, I want you to work for me, but they don't know what they need. So what are some of the mistakes that you've dealt with to maybe alleviate some of those problems and to jump forward steps to get them in the right direction?
I would say that's a good question. I would say that if somebody's trying to establish that relationship with a designer, for me, for instance, and they don't know what it is that they want, it's best to start there. Just admit that from the get-go.
Right.
And trust that the designer that you're hiring has enough experience and knowledge that they can kind of help you navigate
Absolutely
through that jungle.
Yes.
Because there are, I've worked on, I'm actually currently working on a branding project for a new business in Fort Smith, and it's the same issue. They didn't know what they want for a logo. They gave me kind of some direction, so we're on, I want to say like round 4 of the logos now, because it's turned into like, okay, we're going to go this direction, and like, well, maybe we should shift gears. And so I take that feedback, and we've been shifting gears. And what's really funny is when you get clients who have a mindset of, I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. They typically have a bias towards certain design elements. But they don't give a voice to that. And you'll notice that as you start to design this, it starts to gravitate, and I've seen it happen where it starts to gravitate towards their design bias, and I'll bring that up. Be like, okay, I see that you like the direction of this, you like where it's going. It's like, but I have to tell you from a professional perspective, while this logo speaks to you, is it going to speak to your business and to your clients or your customers?
Well said.
It needs to speak to them first.
Yeah.
And you agree with it.
Right.
And those projects, when I bring that up, they're typically like, I see what you're getting at, and you're right. This logo that we've ended up with is for me and not for my business.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So one of the things that I get asked a lot, and I thought it was a great question, is we both come from the corporate background, so to speak, and then we took the jump into entrepreneurial ventures. How has that changed you? How going from let's say the cubicle to your own space, dealing with clients, dealing with negative feedback, social media. I mean, we wear a lot of hats day in and day out. Some are good, some are not so fun. But has that changed you? And if so, how has it changed you?
I've actually joked about this with one of my previous retainer clients, is that since I've become an entrepreneur, I don't think that I'm employable anymore, because I can't see myself going back to a 9 to 5.
Yes.
It's like, if it gets to a point where this doesn't work out, I'm going to find something else that I can do on my own, because I can't do it. I can't see myself going back.
I get it. And that kind of goes into where I was leading into this, is that, how do you stay motivated? I mean, 16 years, that is a substantial amount of time.
It is. I love what I do. I love it. I love getting to design. I love that people want to pay me to design. That's right. That's the greatest thing ever. And I'm not, as I mentioned before, I've grown and I've evolved, but it's not just from necessity. It's also been from this thirst for knowledge and this thirst for new creative outlets. Because things that I do on the side that I don't sell as a service. Is I do photography, and I'm getting into video editing now, and I've been slowly teaching myself AI and how to use that, possibly integrate that into my business somehow, not to replace the creative, but as more of a kind of a sounding board for feedback and direction. But I love learning new things, and I get to do that. And every now and then it turns into something that I can turn around and use as a service in my business, and that's happened before. And so I love that I have this space to grow, and it can go a number of directions. So
I was told here a good number of years ago, I don't need a website. We don't need a website. Social media, that's all. We just need a social media page. And I think that's where businesses are going wrong, because they're solely relying on their online identity and not I don't want to say a corporate identity, but the brandable website aspect.
Right.
Where are businesses going wrong, either with that mentality or the website itself?
I've seen that a lot, especially with. You can tell that they started in that direction because they'll secure a domain.
Right.
But you Google something and it pulls up such and such.com, but you click on that and it opens up their Facebook page. What that tells me is that they're not that invested in their branding, because it's Facebook's branding.
Right.
You're stuck with Facebook structure. You get a profile image and a cover image, and then the rest is Facebook.
Right.
And so what they're relying on there is that what they're offering, whether it's products or services, they're just banking on that being the primary driver for people, coming to visit them. And a lot of times when people see that, I hate to say it, but it kind of makes it look cheap. Like they don't want to, it's like if a company's not willing to invest in their online presence, their branding, their website, it's like, are they really going to provide the service that I need? Are they going to have the product, quality that I'm looking for?
Right.
And so what that is, if nothing else, your website is your online business card.
Yes.
And at minimum, you have what's called a brochure site, which is, it's basically who you are, what you do, and why it matters.
So with that, how does a small business or a brand or even a service, can they calculate ROI from a design or from the web design itself or the website itself?
So they can, but I'll tell you this, a website it's an organic thing. It's not a one and done, project, it's
true.
So once you have your website done, it's up and running, that's not going to guarantee you, first page Google hits. It takes effort. It's a tool. Mm-hmm. You've basically created a tool that you now have to turn around and use. You've got to proper search engine optimization. You use it to, depending on what you're doing, you can promote deals. You can share it online. You make sure that the relevant information is there and have different key points, on social media and other places that point back to it. But it is a tool that will grow as long as you're using it properly.
Very interesting. That's good information.
Yeah.
So the big thing right now is AI. Mm-hmm. Everybody's, no matter what platform, what software you like in that AI space. Is that affecting website design? And if it is, or maybe if not, where do you see website design or graphic design going in the next 3 to 5 years?
So when AI first came onto the scene, at least publicly, it's actually been around a lot longer than most people realize, but when it came onto the scene publicly, there were a lot of designers, myself included, that were just like, great, I'm about to be replaced by lines of code. And what I realized at first is that, so the same thing happened like 30 years ago, I'm thinking, when Photoshop was first released, and photographers were like, we're going to go out of business because now there's this app that can do what we do, and it turns out it doesn't. It's a tool that you can use to do what you do, but better. And so, I'm ashamed to say, only recently I finally took that mindset and be like, okay,
it clicked.
It clicked. It's like, this isn't a tool. Eventually it could replace me. It's like, but right now it's a tool that I can use. Just like, the photographers did back when Photoshop came out, when they finally adapted it and realized that it just makes what they do faster and better. It's like, okay, I can do that. I want to try to incorporate that, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. But I will say that I have, I guess, a personal code or hesitation against using it to replace any measure of creativity.
Agreed.
I will never use it to like create branding or to design a website. That is my realm. That is mine. It is, but I can use it to help me strategize, So if I get a new client that's in an industry that I personally don't have any experience with, I can use AI to help me research, best approaches for this website. What are some solid strategies to, and this is all research that I would typically do on my own, except now it condenses all that into just, seconds.
Expedite.
Yes.
Bam.
Yeah, all that research that would take me days gets done in seconds. And so now I can deliver the product to the client faster, so I can actually do more work as an end result. And so that's how I'm approaching AI right now. I don't see it as something that's going to replace me anytime soon, knock on wood, but I do see it as a tool that can help me be better at what I do.
That's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
Almost comforting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So besides myself, what's a story you got about a customer or a client, a brand, or whatever that sought your services, your talent, that just sticks in your mind as like the cornerstone story to either their success or their total 180 online presence?
Oh, wow. Man, I would like to say all of them, but
and I would attest to that. I really would. I've seen your work,
no, I don't have any statistics to back any of this up, but there are two that come to mind that I was heavily involved in from the very beginning, from the ground up. The first being Due South magazine. If you're familiar with that.
Yes, great magazine.
Yes, I love it. And I worked side by side with Catherine, the owner, from the very beginning. It started out as at Urban Magazine,
I remember that. Yeah.
And then it evolved into Due South Magazine. But I worked with her side by side on the branding, the magazine layout, the website, all of it. And worked with her to build that all from the ground up, and it's still going strong. That was my very first retainer client.
Wow! And
so they've been going strong as long as I've been in business. They were like my first big client.
That's awesome.
And they're great people. And I would say the other one is the Arkansas Family Alliance. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, Matt and Becca Whitson. We had actually, it was funny that they had reached out to me. This is like 2018. They reached out to me about doing the website, and when I met with them, I'm like, I know you guys from somewhere. And and it took us a few minutes to realize, we've been going to church together. Right. It was like a community Bible church, okay. And when it first got started, we were both, all three of us, we were all there, and I had moved off after that, but it's that's where I knew them from, and so they were starting this nonprofit, but they were struggling with coming up with a name for the business, with branding and everything. So I did the research, and I helped name the business, did all the branding, did their first website, and did everything they needed, signage, business cards, all of it. And it just kind of took off from there, and it's grown ever since. It got to a point just this last year, Matt hit me up and said that, okay, we were here and now we're here, right. And we need a website to represent that, because the website we have represents where we started. It's we kind of need it to represent where we're growing, what we're growing into. Right. And so I redesigned the website. So I did the original and the redesign, and the branding's still going strong.
That's a success story right there.
Yeah. Those are great people. Love working with them.
So with success, there also comes maybe failures, or maybe, I don't know. I hate seeing getting sideways, but is there any project, or you don't have to name names, but is there instance in the last 16 years that you're just like you learned from, like this project just totally, maybe even from the beginning, the train just didn't get on the tracks, like it just kept getting off?
I've had there's two I guess two clients that I can think of. I won't name names, but the one thing I learned early on, and actually learned this like working in corporate and ad agencies, is I had a what I called the CYA file, of emails just to cover my tail.
Yep.
Because it never failed, on projects something would go wrong, and then the finger would get pointed, at me, and it's like, no, I've got this email right here, and
right.
So there was one project. It was one client that I was doing packaging designs for, and it was on a regular basis, and it was going steady for a pretty good time, and then the guy I was working with directly, I think he was going through some personal issues, and so communication started to fall off, and we started to fall behind on deadlines. And it was because I wasn't getting the information that I needed to. He would send me the details for the packaging, the die line that's supposed to go on it, and then I would set it up, send it to him for proofing, get approval, send it to the printer. And that was our process. And the last project I ever did for him, we were going through the same steps, and everything got approved. And then a few days later, he gives me a phone call saying that the file that I had sent him was wrong. They had printed all this packaging, and it was the wrong size, and that he's talking to his lawyer about compensation and all this other stuff, and he said his lawyer said to pursue taking action. And I'm like, it's like I have the emails right here, I have everything, and I'm happy to send them to your lawyer. And so he's like, okay. And so I got the information, I sent all the information to his lawyer, explained what happened. His lawyer went back to him and says, buddy, this is your fault.
Right. Yeah.
So he said, so you do not push this any further. This happened because of miscommunication, not because of something that I did. And so, and what's really funny is just a few weeks after that happened, he come back to me and says, hey, we need this other package. And I'm like, no, I'm done, buddy.
Yeah, we're done.
I'm done. We're cutting it off.
Man, that's,
golly,
I can understand that.
Yeah. I would say the other project was, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking to before, is this local company, they needed a logo and they needed a website. And I provided both. And they didn't want to pursue any ongoing SEO, or even to pay extra for good SEO, getting it up to speed and all that. They expected that their website would go up and their business would take off, and it didn't.
Right. And
the owner, she called me out of the blue, just going off on me about how they're not getting the foot traffic they expected. And I'm like, well, what are your analytics saying? And they're like, well, we haven't checked them. And I was like, it's like your analytics will tell you what kind of web traffic you're getting, and I'm happy to help with that. It's like, but I don't work for free, and I can help with the SEO, getting that out there, getting your page rankings, up there, and helping with social media. They didn't want to pay for any of that, but they expected the website to just work on its own.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
And they, I don't think they stayed in business very long.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Gosh. So, again, going back to us working together, for a while now, what are some of the realities that, I know some of them, but maybe someone out there that's watching this, what's some of the realities in your profession that maybe open the eyes of someone that's contacting you? They're like, okay, we know not to contact him at Thursday on 9 a.m. That's his coffee break. But there's certain realities that they expect like you just said, they expect a website, foot traffic, high SEO, high analytics, all this. Can you kind of maybe explain something that might help someone understand that?
Yeah. The first thing to understand is that your branding and your website, they're it's organic. They're tools that have to be used. It's not a one and done. And just like your business, you don't like open the business and then expect it to run itself. There's work to be done.
Right.
And that happens a lot too with new projects. A lot of clients don't realize that they're going to have homework.
Right.
It's like, I've got my part to do, but I don't know your business. You're going to have to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to fill in the blanks. You've got to help guide me, on this journey, on building the right branding for it. And so it's a journey, and then once you start, you keep going, even after the branding is done and the website is done, you're still moving forward, and there's work to be done. If you want your SEO to be, top notch, and you get those first page Google hits, you've got to continuously update your information. You've got to stay on top of your social media, and it's work. A lot of people don't realize that once they start that there's work involved. Even after the project's done, it's still ongoing. It doesn't end until, you decide to do away with the business or the brand.
And maybe be teachable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've learned. Especially in the case of the Arkansas Outdoor Expo website. There's things on that website I had no clue about. Mm-hmm. I was willing to learn and willing to understand and willing to do the work, but I had no experience in it. I thought I knew until I called you and I'm like, hey, I got a question. You were like, that's not how this works. But you took the time to help me understand it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of businesses sometimes go wrong, or even brands. They think they have the next greatest paperclip, but they don't understand how it's bent. They don't understand the manufacturing process. They don't understand so many aspects about it. And again, I can't thank you enough for what you've done, not just for the website, but for the brand, the logo and everything. And
you're welcome.
So if someone were to say, hey, Jeremy's the guy for my next website or my next project, how do they find you online?
Well, my website is hawkandbear.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But all my information's there. There's a contact form to fill out, or they can send me an email, or even give me a call. My phone number's on there. And I'd be happy to have that conversation.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you've done for the Arkansas Outdoor Expo. He is the man behind the website. If you see it on the website, he is a part of that. And even on social media, I mean, all the logos, it's him. And I can't thank you enough. I'll put his contact information in the description. And again, Jeromy, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely,
you. All right.
Thank you.